Okay. Hey, everybody. You guys, thanks for being here. And those of you who couldn't make it or watch the recording, thank you for watching. Rachel and I, we think about you guys a lot. In fact, over the last few weeks, we've been thinking about you and speaking about you a lot because we have some crazy, awesome things coming on for this group that we're going to like massive upgrades and changes and shifts just to help you get your biggest goals and dreams.
Yeah, we've really been, because we've been traveling a lot, of course. And one of the things that traveling does is it really helps us to think about things. There's these two types of thinking that I always refer to: focus thinking and diffuse thinking. Like I took some online class about it years ago and it stuck with me. So focus thinking is what we're doing when we're at home, wherever that is, and just focused on working on the business and doing all the things that have to happen, emails and reminders and marketing and all of these different things. And then the diffuse thinking for me is when we're out traveling and you can't really be on your computer per se because the internet doesn't work or you don't have cellular service or whatever. And so we do a lot more diffused thinking where we're just kind of throwing around ideas, brainstorming, all of these different things. And so we've been doing a lot of that. And we love doing that because when we do it, it helps us to look at the bigger picture. Like, okay, what do we want? What do we want to create? What do we want to contribute? What do we want to achieve? How do we want to help the best? And so that's what we've been getting super excited about, talking about, thinking about is how do we, Greg's been talking about with his men's group, and we've been talking about it with this group. How do we best help people get the results that they want? Because obviously that's the point. Like the whole point of why we do anything is to help other families get results, because we have been able to figure out a lot of things in our own life that have helped us to get a lot of really great results. And we love to ask ourselves and analyze and question and look at it from all angles. We truly believe that a lot of the things we do are not just for us. They're not just unique to us. Like they are duplicatable. And we tell this to our kids all the time. We're like, I don't think that our marriage is just a fluke. I don't think it's just one thing that, happens and nobody can repeat that. I think there is a formula for creating the type of relationships that they talk about that they want to have when they get married. And so we're like, we're going to help you as much as we can to do those things. We want to help other people have great marriages, have great relationships with their kids, have great families. And the battery is about to die. We want to do all of those things. And so that's what the formula is about. We call it the Extraordinary Family Life Formula. That's what it's about. And we call it the formula because we truly believe that it is a formula. It is essentially like 1 + 1 = 2. It's predictable. It's reliable. It's if you do this, you get these results. That's why we call it the formula. But along that way, we're like, okay, how do we make it even more predictable? How do we make it even more reliable? How do we make it more straightforward and laid out?
And crazy fun.
And crazy fun. And just boring and predictable. No, fun too. How do we make it that way so that other people can reliably and predictably get the results that they want? So that's what we've been discussing and analyzing and talking about. And we are very excited about it personally. And we hope you guys are excited about it too when we outline what we've been thinking, what we've been strategizing.
So I think it's worth taking a minute to just pause and think about, if you've got something to write with, you got a little study journal or something, what are the things you really want most? And I think sometimes we think, oh, we know that, and it's the same old, but I think it's important and powerful to slow down and stop and remind yourself, like, what is it I really want most? And I think it's especially important in our time and age, because there's so much going on. There's distractions everywhere. We're so busy, and there's so many messages and so much marketing and so many to-dos, and it's 10 million things to do. And if we're not careful, really, really careful, then months and years will pass just doing all those things, keeping really busy, but not actually moving forward on the things we want most. So,
Well, and one of the challenges I remember having very clearly, that was kind of the impetus for me to start doing the formula, even though I didn't call it then, was this. I remember having this sense of, as a busy mom, with all the things I had to do from morning until night, literally getting woken up by children and falling asleep, exhausted into bed, or falling into bed and not being able to fall asleep because my brain was just running, right? And then finally falling asleep, to get woken up by a baby, to then go back to sleep, to get woken up by a child who was hungry in the morning. I remember never having the time to think about what I actually wanted, because I was just nonstop addressing the needs of what needed to happen around me. This, and they came at me and I just responded. There was no gap. There was no space for me to think, what do I actually want? And how can I take intelligent action to get there, right? That, I think, is one of the biggest challenges I know moms are facing. I think maybe dads too, is not having that space to think about the action they should be taking instead of just responding to what's coming at them. And then if they do, not knowing how to get there, not knowing what steps to take.
So we end up living very reactive lives instead of proactive lives. So let's just share for a second. And again, if you're watching the recording, think about it or write about it. But you can share in the comments section, or you can turn on your mic. What are some of the things you want most? Let's just slow down for a second. Just be mindful about this. And it's going to be a list. It's I don't know if people are just like single cell organisms that just want one thing. It's a list. And that's what's unique about this group, is like, we're all about families, and we want to be educated families and adventurous families. Like, we're not just existence families. So there's a lot here, but take a minute. What is it? What is it you really want? What's important to you? And jot it down or share it, and we can talk about it. And then that is going to be the why, the purpose, the meaning, the driver behind what we're, about to present. Okay. You want to read it?
Yes. Okay, so Laura says, a really great marriage, a great individual relationship with each of my kids, extraordinary family life, epic homeschool, financial security.
Beautiful.
That's an amazing list.
That's awesome.
It's a life
like yours. Yeah. Ditto to her.
Ditto to her list. That honestly is a great list. And in our formula that we have written out, that's pretty much all of the elements, because we focus.
Except glaringly missing from those lists, you guys, is health. Don't you want to be healthy? Come on, you're killing me here. Don't you want to get up awake, energized, and alive? And I know you do. But
yeah. So on our list, we have you, right, as one of the main. It's one of the foundations. You. So that's your health, your well-being, mental, emotional, all of that, physical. Then the marriage, of course, the family, which is it's parenting.
Yep.
So that's the individual relationships, right? Then it's the family culture. That's the extraordinary family life, because that's essentially your family culture. Like, what is it that you do as a family? What do you get excited about? What do you have fun doing? All of those things, right?
Well, how do you get things done in a
That
peaceful, effective way?
or fun way, or yeah, like how do you go about living life? What is it like? Today, our life was, we worked out together at a park here in Turkey, and then you guys jumped in the pool together. I did not. I laid out.
Because
in
it's
the sun.
really cold
It's
still.
cold because it's still spring. And then we had music and we danced and we did our studies and we did our work. So that's our family culture. That's our family vibe. That's how we like to spend our days. It's just doing all these things together and having a good time. That's the family culture. Epic homeschooling, of course, education is a part of that, although we don't have that as a specific thing. And then finances, financial security, because you can't live your extraordinary family life if you don't have the finances to fund it. That's just how it is. And the more finances you have, the more extraordinary your life can be. So that's actually,
which hold on,
perfect.
like, which is true for every element. The more energy and vitality you have, the more extraordinary your life can be. The more centeredness and peace and calmness, the more wellness that you have mentally and emotionally, the more extraordinary your life can be.
The more passion and romance and love and friendship you have in your marriage, the more extraordinary your family life will be. The better relationships you have with your children, the more that they respect and respond to you, the better your family life will be. So that's why it's this holistic element. And if you guys have seen our little logo, it has all the circles that are interconnected. Like that's what it's representing. It's all connected and everything affects everything else. So, when we talk about the formula is our method and strategy and system for improving each one of those areas of life so that the overall family life becomes extraordinary. Because as you improve each of those areas, it adds to the awesomeness of everything else.
And the point, you guys, is to give specific strategies and systems so that you're not using hope as a strategy, because hope is not a strategy. Hoping things work out, hoping you stay healthy, hoping you stay together with your spouse, hoping your kids turn out, that is not a strategy. That is a crap sandwich without the bread. It's like that is just terrible. It doesn't work. So we want to give you very specific strategies so you're like, yeah, that works. This is happening. And we remove the guesswork from it. So you don't feel like you're just throwing darts in the dark, hoping something lands. Like that's why we have the formula. And man, so excited to share all of this and the new system.
Yes. Okay, so I think I want to start with a story. And this actually didn't happen to me, but it affected me in a very interesting way. And that's where I have some of these ideas from, because it was in 2019. It was the year before COVID. I had planned a trip, a youth trip for teenagers that Greg led to Mongolia. And he took 2 of our teenagers on this trip. And then there was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 other people that went. And they had an amazing time. They rode Mongolian ponies across the steppe and went to the the 8 Lakes regions. And they saw the Nadam festival where they do archery and horseback riding and wrestling and like all of these cool things they did. That was amazing.
Epic.
And
one of my all-time favorite trips.
yes. And so on the way back, Greg was sitting on the airplane flying to South Korea, because that's where their layover
No,
was.
to Beijing.
Oh, Beijing.
Yeah.
He flew to South Korea on the way to Beijing. And he sat next to this woman who was an educator in the capital city of Mongolia, which is Ulaanbaatar. And they were talking, and I don't know all the details, but I'll tell the part that matters to me.
Well, okay, this lady's amazing. She's running this school, and it's one of the very few schools that is sponsored by the Dalai Lama. I mean, this is legit. And so she's running the school. They have this great reputation, this phenomenal learning program. Is telling it was incredible, and learning all about it and so cool. And then I'm just telling her about our family and telling her about Rachel, and I was like, yeah, my wife and I, we've been married for so long. We have 7 kids, and this woman's like, what? You have 7 children? Like, yeah, and we get that reaction all the time, but this one was different. She was just in awe, like, your wife is almost a 4th level mom. And I was like, ooh, what is that?
What does that mean?
And she said every year the president of Mongolia brings all the women into the capital. We went to the main square, it's big, huge square, and he honors the moms. And when you have 2 children, you're a 1st level mom. When you have 4 children, you're a 2nd level mom. When you have 6 children, this is like rare and awesome, you're a 3rd level mom. And then, of course, 8 children, you're a 4th level mom. And this one was like, your wife is almost a 4th level mom. Like, wow, I want to meet her. You guys should. And then she's like, you should come back. I have an apartment. You can stay there. It's all yours. Just come and stay as long as you want. Like, it was amazing. But she was, the 4th level
Yes,
mom.
and so he comes home and he tells me this story. And even now, when you tell it, I feel like so important. I am almost a 4th level mom, and I've thought about this so many times since, because I think, why? Why does that whole idea that in Mongolia, they have awards for moms and I'm almost a 4th level, why does that make me feel special or important, right? And as I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about this group and even things that have been said in this group, I think a couple of sessions ago, I think it was Emily said something about, yeah, it would just be so nice to have badges and awards and recognition for the work we're doing. And in combination with this 4th level mom award in Mongolia, I thought, yes, that would be awesome. It would be wonderful to have badges and awards and recognition for the work that we're doing as moms, because it really is the most important work in the world. I really believe that, even though it's so, cliche, I think it's true. And so that's what I have been thinking about. And that's where I've gotten these ideas for what we want to start doing and lay out in the formula, and incorporating the 28-day challenges, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is this idea of laying it out very clearly, very specifically, very strategically, and then having awards for each level that you achieve, until ultimately, when you do all of the levels, you achieve the Queen Award and become the queen of your extraordinary family life, right? Yeah. So this is where it came from. It was this conglomeration of these thoughts and ideas, but especially related to this one story from Mongolia, and the fact that I think it's so wonderful that they literally, and Mongolia is such an amazing country, in part because they do cherish families so much. Like, they love children. They still are one of the few countries in the world that still have a lot of children, a lot comparatively. Family is very, very important to them. And you can tell because the president of the country gives out awards to the moms, which is amazing. So that's where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to put this out here. I love everything you guys say, but I have a really hard time implementing it. Okay, yes, we've heard this before. We know. I think I need accountability. Yes.
Laura, you are teeing this up perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. I think I need accountability. Are you building that into what you're doing today? I hate admitting that I can't just do it on my own, but it's true. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes,
we could have paid for that comment.
Seriously. Because this is another thing that we have been realizing, that one of course, obviously the biggest challenges is implementing. We all know what we're supposed to do, and yet we don't do it, right? And we all hate to admit it, but we have a hard time doing it on our own. So that's why, okay, so then I want to talk about the 28-day challenges, because one of the things that we did probably, how long ago did we
It
start
was
that?
years ago.
Years ago. Laura was there. Some of you may have been there. I don't remember, but it doesn't, I'm still trying to think, when was that? Doesn't matter. Years ago, we started these 28-day challenges. And they would all have a theme. It would be on, it was one of the formula, the elements of the formula, you, your marriage, parenting, family culture, finances. And we would do a challenge for 28 days. And then we would do that.
Really, and we call it a challenge, but really it was just, it's a habit tracker. So for 28 days, we just say, you identify the things you want to work on and track for this month,
Mhm.
how many days, and just check off the boxes. And Rachel designed this awesome tracker, and it's elementary. It's such a simple strategy, and yet it is so powerful. It works like a champ.
Yes,
And all you're doing, so we're not creating some big challenge,
no,
something that adds to your already very busy lives. It's just helping you track the things that you want to do. And simply by having it written down and checking it off massively increases the likelihood that you actually do it.
yes. And so it is an accountability piece that just works. And in fact, habit trackers are something Greg and I have been doing for a very long time. It's one of the foundational pieces of our success in any area of life that we've wanted to make improvements. We track it. We track that habit that we want to create. And so like Greg is saying, it's a challenge, but it's not like something big and terrible you have to take on. And I love, this is the way I think of it, because to me, it's so foundational. When I think back to the time when I was just totally swamped, overwhelmed mom, and had not even a moment to think about anything, not even hardly a moment to brush my teeth or go to the bathroom or do anything like that. The biggest strain, struggle, challenge I feel that I had was a lack of control over my own life. That's maybe how I would word it now, because I felt like I had no control over my life. Everything was just thrown at me and I was not in charge. I wasn't directing my life. A habit tracker allows you to take back control little by little. Now that's the beauty of it, because I'm not just like drastically altering everything and changing my whole life, you know. I'm taking back little bits of control and I'm building my habit muscles. I don't know how else to word it. I'm building my ability to develop habits and my ability to have control over my life through making and keeping small commitments to myself. Because if there's one thing that we have realized that has been instrumental, our kids are back from the park, that has been instrumental in helping us to create our extraordinary family life, it's been our ability to make and keep commitments. Because that's all goals, that's all achieving goals is. Achieving a goal means, first of all, you have a vision of something, and then you, over time, commit to actually making it happen. And then you keep that commitment to yourself. Now that can seem very daunting, and with big goals especially, it's daunting. And as an overwhelmed mom, sometimes even the smallest goals like exercise or read from a book or eat healthy seems like a huge daunting goal. But the underlying foundation and principle is all the same. You make and keep commitments to yourself. So if you can build your muscle of making and keeping commitments to yourself, then you just increase that little by little, bit by bit, until then you have the capability of making and keeping,
Keep going. You're
I
doing
know,
great.
I just forgot how I was saying it all of a sudden. Making and keeping commitments to yourself on a grander scale. That's all it is. That's it. Like, that's the underlying philosophy. You want to have a great marriage? Make and keep small commitments. You want to be a better parent and have great relationships with your kids? Make and keep small commitments. You want to make more money? Make and keep small commitments. It's all the same. So with the 28-day challenge and the habit tracker, they're one and the same essentially. You're going, and with the levels that I'm going to be introducing, you're going level by level, making and keeping small commitments to yourself. And as you do that, then you build little by little, level by level, your extraordinary family life. Sounds great. Yes.
Oh, this is where the crowds cheer because this is exciting stuff.
It is exciting. I'm excited. I am excited. Okay, so
Drum roll.
drum roll. What? I don't know what to say. So we're gonna start doing these 28-day challenges, and they're going to have levels. Now, I've already kind of given you, we call them the elements: you, marriage, parenting, family culture, finances. Those are the main 5 elements. We're going to have challenges for each of those, and each of those is going to have levels. Now because I'm human and a mother and a business owner and a traveler, I'm going to be unrolling those, is that the right word? Unveiling them, leasing them one at a time. And to begin, of course, we're going to start with the most important element, the foundational element, because if this element is not strong, healthy, and well, then nothing else is going to go as smoothly, work as well, function as it should. And that element is, of course, you. So we start with you, because when you're healthy, your mind, your emotions, your physical health, when you are thriving, when you fill your well, you've heard Greg talk about that before, you can't draw from an empty well. Well, a lot of moms, because I know I was too, they're trying to nurture and raise their children when they are literally drained dry. They've got nothing to give. And so they can't give, but they're trying. And so it's just not working. So you have to be filling your well. So that's what we're going to focus on in the first level of level 1 of you, is on making and keeping these small commitments to yourself in these important areas so that you can build these muscles of taking back a little bit of control of your life, right? So then you can progress to growing so that you can go from being so swamped and overwhelmed with daily life that you hardly have time to go to the bathroom, because that's where I was, to now where today I spent time exercising. I spent time laying out in the sun. I spent time writing my book. I spent time working on my business. I spent time making love to my husband. And all of these other things.
Yep.
I had time to do all of that today.
And lots of time playing with the
And
kids.
my kids got all of their studies done. And I played with the kids. And they made crafts. Like, all of these things happened easily because I have been able to make and keep small commitments to myself in a way that grew and grew and grew, so that I booked flights to Egypt. Shh, it's a secret. I did all of these things today because I have systems in place that allow me to be productive and have control of my time in my life. Okay, the analogy I like to use of how I feel as a mom is this. I used to do search and rescue. As a mom, I feel like I'm trying to save everyone while I'm drowning in the river instead of trying to help everyone from a safe, stable place with the right tools. Yes, 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 yes. That is a perfect, wonderful analogy. That's exactly it. And that's what this formula and everything I'm trying to lay out here is going to help you do. To go from drowning in the river, trying to do search and rescue, to actually standing on from a stable and safe place, being more capable of helping people. you are literally more capable of helping your spouse, your children, because you're standing from a stable place.
I think that's worth emphasizing there, just wrapping the big picture around it, like, because we often want to skip to the other elements, like, oh, well, marriage and kids and family legacy and finances. I want to get to all those things, but
Mhm.
take each of the other four elements and how effective are you and how well do they get done when you're not dialed in, right? If you're not in a good place. So how great can your marriage be if you aren't in a good place? It just can't be that good. How great can parenting and education be and each of your relationship with your kids? I mean, how solid are your kids going to be if you are not in a good place? It's not. How about your family legacy? Not going to happen. Family dynamics, not going to happen. How about even family finances? If you're not in a good mental, emotional, physical space, how great are your family finances going to be? They can't. So quite literally, the other four elements of an extraordinary family life are 100% dependent on you and I being in a really good place. And that's where we want to be anyways, because we want to feel awake and energized and alive and happy and peaceful and calm and in love with life and our family.
No, I'm really glad you emphasize that. I'm going to re-emphasize it again because it is so important. And that is why we start with you, because I have seen again and again and again that whenever I'm struggling, whether it's in whatever, just in life, we want to try and fix the problem when actually if I turn inward and I fix myself, then the problem fixes itself. So if I focus on getting good sleep, if I focus on getting good input into my mind, reading things, praying, meditating, if I focus on doing things that fill me, right now I'm relearning, because I learned in high school to play the flute. So I'm practicing the flute. I'm writing a book, like I'm doing things that fill me. The more I do those things, the better I feel, and the better I feel, the better mom I am, the better spouse I am. Like everything else in life goes so much easier when I do those things for me first. So that is why we have you as one of the foundations, because you have to have that in place or else the rest of it just doesn't work. And we've seen this with us, with our relationship. We've seen this with our kids, that if we're off for some reason because we've been neglecting our own needs, then it affects everything else. Oh, you teach flute lessons.
So
That's
awesome.
wonderful.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Okay, so to reiterate, you guys, there's 5 main elements for an extraordinary family life. And right now, as of right now, we're thinking maybe 2 to 3 levels in each area.
So far, I have 3 levels identified in you. And I have you level 1 outlined completely. It has all of the requirements. Now, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. And if we'd started at 9 instead of 8, like I'd planned, I would have pulled them up, but I don't. So I'll just tell you what I remember so far for you level 1. That it's going to be simple things like reading from a good book for 2 minutes. I'll talk about that in just a second. Exercising for 2 minutes. Eliminating sugar for 28 days.
Oh, I thought you were going to throw in your 2-minute thing.
For
I'm
2
like,
minutes.
That won't cut it. 2 minutes sugar
2 minutes
fast.
without sugar. That's literally all I can remember at the moment. But what I want to talk about is they're not huge things. They're not like, I told Greg, I want to make it so easy for you level 1, especially. I keep saying you, Y-O-U, why level 1? Maybe that's confusing too. I don't know. Anyways, I want to make it so easy that there's no excuse you can't do it. None.
Even,
because
even the busiest, craziest
Yes.
mom will be like, okay, I can do that.
right. Because for this first level, like I mentioned before, the whole point is to get in the habit of making and keeping small commitments to yourself. You make a commitment to exercise for 2 minutes, 5 days a week, there's no excuse for not doing that. Because even as you're going to bed and you say, oh, I forgot, 2 minutes, you can exercise for 2 minutes before you go to bed. Now, why 2 minutes? This is actually scientifically backed up. And James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, wrote a book about it. And when I read about it, I was like, yes. And in fact, this 2-minute rule has changed my life. That when you're trying to develop a habit, the most important thing is whether or not you do it or not. It doesn't matter how long you do it for. The thing is whether you actually do it. And when you do it, you start to build the identity of being that kind of person. So if you work out 2 minutes every day, well, you're a person that works out. If you practice the flute at least 2 minutes every day, you're the kind of person that plays the flute. You begin to build that identity and it becomes a part of how you view yourself. I'm this person who does these things. So if
Plus,
you
it
commit to the
just
2 minutes,
feels fantastic to say you're going to do something and do it.
yes, that too. So with the 2-minute rule, you've made it easy for yourself to keep that commitment. And as you keep that commitment, you feel fantastic about yourself for keeping a commitment to yourself. And you strengthen your ability to overcome inertia. Because the biggest thing that usually stops us from doing something we say we're going to do is not necessarily the thing itself, but overcoming overcoming the inertia of actually getting started. So if you can overcome that by committing to 2 minutes, that's often the hardest part. And then you likely find yourself practicing for more than 2 minutes or exercising for more than 2 minutes. But at the worst case scenario, you do the 2 minutes and you've kept that commitment to yourself and taught your body and your mind to overcome that inertia and say, when I say I'm going to do this, I do it. So in this foundational level, level 1, that's what we're focusing on. We want to build those muscles of being able to make and keep these small commitments to ourselves, no matter what, even if it's only 2 minutes. And as we do that, there's huge power, because going back to this idea of control, especially as a young mom or older mom or whatever, a mom at all, a person, when you feel out of control of your life, you have to prove to yourself in some way that you actually do have control. And when you do this, you make and keep commitments to yourself. And even if it's, I'm going to brush my teeth today, right? That's your commitment. And you do it, you're showing yourself, I actually have control and I can do things that I say I'm going to do or want to do. And little by little, that starts to build until you have more control of your life.
And especially when there's things that show self-respect and self-love.
Exactly.
Like you're like, you know what? I respect myself and I love myself. And
So I'm going to brush my teeth.
Going to make time for me to do things that are good for me and that I enjoy doing.
Mhm.
And you carve that space out. And moms especially need to do this. Carve that space out. Like, oh, I'm a woman.
Mhm.
I'm a human being. And I like this. And I'm going to do this thing. And it's good for me. And it creates that sovereignty. And again, helps you rise to be the best version of yourself.
No, I love that, because it is true. It does create this sense of sovereignty, because one of the challenges as a mom that I felt was this sense of, I can't do it because I have to take care of my kids. I can't do it because there's no time because my kids take up all the time. And when you create this sense of sovereignty, a little bit of space of like, I'm a person too, I have needs and I'm going to take time to fulfill them, then your children learn to have a little bit more respect for you and your time, right? And another reason, I've made it easy with the 2-minute rule is even the youngest children, you can say, wait 2 minutes while I do this thing, right? And you do the thing and you show them that you're going to do things for you. And then that begins to grow. Because that's another challenge that moms face, is that how do we have time to write a book if our kids don't respect our time? But as you learn to train your children to respect your time in little ways, like 2 minutes, I'm doing this thing, and then it grows 5 minutes, they start to be able to understand that and appreciate that and respect that. And then eventually you're like, give me 30 minutes. I'm doing this. Give me an hour, right? So it's all part of that magical process. Okay. Any questions?
I hope you guys are even half as excited as we are. Because we know this, I've been helping people transform their lives for 2.5 decades. Like, I've seen what works and what doesn't. And we've been just studying this stuff voraciously. We know what works, and we're trying to package it all
Right.
into this fun, engaging, effective way to help you achieve your dreams.
Help you implement and be accountable. Katie.
I love where this is going. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so I love where this is going. I definitely need help in knowing how to do it. Like, I get it. I need to make the time for myself. I want it, but I definitely need help with the strategy behind it, and what you were talking about with the kids. So I'm excited to learn about that.
Awesome. Yeah, so
Good.
and again, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to unfold and lay out, but part of what we want to do with this is, as we go along and you have some challenge, you're like, I'm trying to do this, but this is happening. Great. We want to have that question either here, or we want to have it in, I'm going to have some sort of connected forum with it. I have one already for my family systems and charts program. So I'm going to have one for this. And then you can go in there and say, I'm trying to do this, but this is happening. What do I do? Because for us personally, we love very specific questions. I feel like we can give way better advice and answers when we have specific questions. So as we go along and you have these specific questions, then we'll either make a video or an audio, sometimes writing, although I feel like we love to expound and talk too much to write it out. So we want to do it in audio to specifically respond to those things, which will then be added to the content section of it, right? So it's accessible to everyone forever. So I love that. Laura says, are you using the same tracker? Is it here in this class? How do we submit it to you? How many goals for you are we supposed to do for level 1? Great question. Where is your systems form? I would love to be on that. Oh, okay. I'll email you about the systems form. Okay, so the same tracker. Here's what I'm thinking so far. Yes, we're going to use the same tracker unless you hate it. And then I'm going to have a few other options for trackers you can use, because I'm not so concerned as much that you use my tracker as I am that you actually track something. So if you prefer tracking on apps or tallying it on the wall, I don't know. Like, the most important thing is that you're actually tracking it. And so I do have a couple of recommendations of free apps, paid apps that you can use. I even have a electronic spreadsheet habit tracker. And then the one she's referring to is a one I made that you can print out. It's a paper copy. I think I did also make an electronic version that you can actually check that well. And you can use any of those. I don't care. How you'll submit it is, I'm using this thing called,
and again, we'll give instructions
Yeah,
for all of
we'll
this.
have
We're
instructions, but I'm
introducing
going
it
to
now.
answer the question.
We're gonna lay this out for everybody and give a couple weeks to just work out all the bugs, become familiar with it. And then we're gonna start in earnest on April 1st with all the instructions, but these are really great questions of how this is gonna actually work.
Okay, more questions. I just want to answer the questions though while we're here. So the way I'm using something called, I forget the name, badge something, where literally creates these electronic badges and you have to verify, like it's all official and everything. And what we do is I'll outline what needs to be accomplished with each level. And then what you have to do is track that. You can track it on what I mentioned, and then just take a photo of it and upload that photo when you submit for your badge. And then it simply has to be verified by someone else in the community or myself to just look at it and say, oh, yep, you did it. You're approved to receive your badge. So that's how that works. How many goals for you? So right now with level 1, I think I have 5 or 6, but again, they're like 2-minute goals each. And it basically, we try to make it holistic. So it's covering mental, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, for the most part, not 100%, but kind of that's what we're doing. I've never seen the electronic version. Can you put it in here? Yes. And when do we start? Like Greg said, we're aiming to start level 1, April 1st.
And you
Depending
guys,
on what day of the week it is.
if
I
you're-
kind of like start on Mondays.
if you're already just crushing it in some areas, fantastic. Check that off, or increase it a little bit, or adjust it. Like
Mhm.
if there's certain areas you're already just so dialed in, maybe you work out 5 days a week consistently and you just don't miss, then it's not going to be this challenge for you to get your workout in. You're already doing it. And that's where you can kind of go at your own pace and be like, man, but I just haven't been reading and I would love to do that. Or I haven't been really engaging with my spouse. I need to do that. Or I haven't been, really involved in my kids and what's going on there. I need to do that. Or I need more spiritual practices, whatever it is, you can put these in there and start tracking that so that at your own pace and it's sustainable.
Mhm.
Some of you are going to go like crazy and burn out. We want it sustainable. So this becomes lifelong, just how you do
Right.
life.
Exactly. Because essentially, that's what we've learned. We've used this analogy before, and we've had people say to us, they look and they think, how do you do that? It looks so hard and challenging to do all of those things. And the reality is, it's kind of like life is this staircase. And when you're down here, you look and you see a wall and you're like, how I can't get to that next level because there's a wall here. When really it's just a step. It's just a big step that maybe has little steps leading up it. And so when you're standing up here, it's easy because you're standing. It's strong, it's stable, it's firm. It's not hard, it's not challenging. You're not swimming and drowning. You're standing on this level. You just had to work your way up so that that became your new normal. And that's how we do life. Whenever we want to go to the next level, we simply make and keep small commitments until we get to that next level. And that's now the new normal. And we're standing up there strongly and easily because that's now just how we do life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, I'm glad it does. So that's the goal. That's the vision. Of course, this is not everything. I'm going to be creating a section for each element that will automatically be added to your dashboard. And it will just simply, it will outline all of the levels. Level U, Y for you is these things. Here's what you need to do. Here's the step. I'm going to, like Greg's saying, you can customize it, but for the most part, I'm going to be laying it out for you, saying, these are the things you need to do. These are the things that just work. They just work. They're just not, for us now, it's no longer negotiable. It's not like, yeah, that would be nice. It's like, no, if you want to have a extraordinary life, these are the non-negotiable things that have to be included that just make it easier. They make every part of your life easier. They really do. Literally make it easier. So I'm going to be outlining that as much as possible, saying this, these things need to be included. And then we'll be just growing those little muscles over time and answering the questions and all of that. Okay. So I'm genuinely curious. How long did it take you to go from overwhelmed mom to feeling in control like you described earlier? So this is what's amazing about this is when you start doing it, you immediately start feeling more control. It happens right away because you are making and keeping commitments to yourself, which gives you a sense of control. Now, it still might just be a small amount, but it's like a little seed you plant in your heart and it begins to grow. And it grows and it grows and it grows. So when did I start doing this in earnest? I mean, for honestly, in some ways, Greg and I have been doing this in some level since we got married. I mean, it was one of the things that attracted us to each other. When we were guys, this is how crazy we are. When we were newlyweds, we used to get up together at 4 o'clock in the morning to study. That's how nerdy we were. Okay.
We love it.
We loved it so much. We're like, we're going to get up at 4 a.m. We went to bed at 9 p.m. and we hit the pillow and neither of us moved until 4 a.m. because we had no kids. Now, of course, when the kids came,
We slept
all
until
that-
4:30.
we said, no, we didn't. Oh, all that went out the window and we had to
No, it
figure out.
didn't.
um,
So well, it would change
not
for
for
you.
you.
Yeah, for me,
changed for me.
I still did 4 to 4:30 for,
Because you had a
15
job, you were
years.
working, and so that was your thing. But for me, it went out the window. And I had to find new strategies that were adaptable to motherhood, pretty much. So that's not the answer you want to hear, like, it's taken me 22 years.
but no,
That's not what I'm
because
trying to say, though.
you start, I think what you're saying is so important. You start
Right.
feeling it immediately.
Exactly.
And it keeps increasing. It
Right.
just gradually increases till in a short time, if you'll do exactly what we put in here, I promise. Like, and I do this with my
Even when
coaching
you're like, I
clients.
don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do that. That's the time when you have to do it the most. That's the time when you'll start to feel the most control because you said, I said I was going to do this and I'm going to do it. Kids, I'm doing it. And that's when you start to have that control. Because the only reason you feel out of control is because you're allowing your children and your environment to dictate what you do and when you do it. So you get that control back when you get to decide. You dictate what you do and when you do it. And in just 2 minutes, exactly. That's how it starts. That's how it begins. And when you can then do it for 2 minutes, then it's easy to do it for 5 minutes. And then when you can do it for 5 minutes, it's easy to move to 15 minutes. And then it just goes from there.
And after several weeks and then several months,
And then
you
let's not
can
even talk about years.
you can literally be living a different life.
Exactly.
I've seen it so many times with so many people.
And no
Oh
excuses.
yeah,
Okay, so
it begins.
more information will be forthcoming.
Yep, it's rolling out,
But
you
here
guys,
is
and it's going to be
the-
so good.
The overview. That's what this was. So,
Okay,
okay.
be excited. Great things are coming. Huge upgrades. Lots of new people are going to be joining us, and we're just going to all lean in together for this awesomeness. So, love you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the recording. Thanks for being a part of this group. Thanks for caring and wanting to be great. The willingness to invest in yourselves and participate in these things so that you can design and create your unique, extraordinary family life.
Well, and for us, we truly believe that families are the most important thing in society. It is strong families that make the world a better place. And so the stronger we can each make our families, the better the world is going to be. And it needs help. So it needs us. Laura said, where should we look for all the info that's going to be coming? I will be sending emails. And then you did also ask before about keeping these on Wednesdays or Tuesdays. It's been switching back and forth. I might send a poll asking when will be better, but I think we're going to be doing Wednesdays probably. I think we only did Tuesday one. Oh, we did Tuesday one time because we were flying to Turkey. That's why we did Tuesday, maybe. So we were flying, I think. But I think otherwise we'll be doing Wednesdays unless I take a poll and that doesn't work, then we'll switch, but that's the plan for now.
Okay,
Okay,
love
great.
you guys. Woo! Wait, one more question. Do you have a video, only habits class yet? Tina misses so much. I want her access. She can't come Tuesdays. So I want
Do
to
the
do the
videos.
videos. Yeah, they're in there. I'm uploading them. They're getting uploaded. Is that what you're asking? Those videos are getting uploaded right after class all the time. So,
Okay,
okay. Oh, wait, the habits class. Wait. Video. Only habits class. Oh, the video only. Instead of live, instead of attending live, just. the-
oh,
Yeah. That usually
no, I
happens.
haven't made that yet.
Yeah, that'll happen after. So.
I will do that.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Love you guys. Adios. Reach upward.